Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, leading up to the Wonder Woman 1984 review that's coming out next week, we're going to find out who would win in a fight between the Wonder Woman villain Cheetah, who's going to be in that movie, and the Spider-Man villain Rhino. They're both animalistic villain characters that have the abilities of speed and strength, and they both have, sharp weapons. So we think this is a pretty good matchup, and it's definitely a good way to build hype for the upcoming film.
Yeah, I can't believe I get to watch Wonder Woman 1984 finally this week. After so many release date shifts, it's finally happening, and I can't wait until the next episode. The Cheetah was never a character that I knew too much about, so doing research for her was pretty interesting, and you can look forward to that match later on this episode.
Yeah, before that, we're going to break down the comic book movie news from this past week. Before the movie news, though, we're going to talk about my and Jonathan's experience receiving 3 Colorado Podcast Awards, one for Best Colorado Podcast, one for Best Sound Design, and the last one for Best Co-Hosts. It was so amazing, and we want to share that with you guys later on. After that, we're going to talk about the Wonder Woman 1984 opening scene/trailer that was unveiled during the DC Fandom Virtual World Premiere. We're also going to talk about how Cyclone was cast in the Black Adam movie. And finally, we're going to discuss the new Marvel Studios Legends television series that's going to hit Disney Plus early in January.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic.
Just a quick reminder, guys, that this show currently has a fundraiser going. We're raising money for the Pop Culture Classroom nonprofit organization that promotes literacy and learning for disadvantaged youths through educational programs based around things like comic books and pop culture media. It's a great organization. We're not asking for monetary donations from you guys. All we're asking is that you give us a rating on podchaser.com, and for each rating that we get, we will donate $1 to the charity. Right now, I think we have about 24 ratings, and we're trying to get above 100 in order to beat last year's donation that we gave to that nonprofit. So if you're listening to this and you're questioning about whether or not you should give us a rating on podchaser.com, definitely do it. It only takes a minute of your time, and it's for a good cause.
And don't forget, everyone who participates will have the opportunity to download original Keelix and Herbie art drawn by artist Matt Turner. So when we say it's a win for everyone, we really mean it.
Yeah, please definitely take advantage of this, guys, when you get a chance. But with that all out of the way,
quick to the No Prize. A No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
For last week, we asked you guys to settle a debate between Jonathan and myself over what was the better, most exciting event of 2020, the DC Fandom or the Disney Investors Day. And it heated up some animosity between our listeners, which is what I like to see. I like that. We got a lot of answers, and we have a list of honorable mentions to run down, as well as the No Prize winner.
Our first honorable mention goes to Jeff Miles Jr., who said that the DC Fandom was definitely better because we already knew what was coming with Marvel shows and movies, and we've known that for 2 years. Old news. He also said that I was right, that nothing that came out from the Marvel event came close to topping that Batman trailer.
I mean, when he says that we already knew what was coming with Marvel with shows and movies, that's actually not entirely true because we did get quite a few new announcements during that event.
But I think the most exciting and majority of the stuff we did know about. And none of it was better than the Batman trailer.
Our next honorable mention goes to Jay Moldenhauer Salazar, who said that he was more excited by the Marvel's Investors Day because the MCU consistently puts out high-quality stuff. And the sheer volume of projects that are headed our way starting in January has him amazingly hyped. According to him, only some DC films and TV shows are great, but there's some real stinkers out there. And basically, it boils down to that he always enjoys an MCU film, while with the DC films, he's always holding his breath heading into them, hoping that they're good. Which I think is a valid perspective, you know? I mean, look at Birds of Prey that came out earlier this year.
Okay, fair. But also look at, Watchmen. That's, the best comic book show that's ever come out ever. It's DC has its lows, but they also have the highest of highs.
Like Endgame high? I don't know.
Watchmen was better than Endgame.
Oh, shit! That's going to be the new question of the week.
Our final honorable mention goes to Calvin Mims, who said that the DC fandom was definitely better, and this is probably because it was geared toward fans and had more hype built up to it. For the DC fandom, he set a whole day aside to sit in his room with a bowl of popcorn, as compared to Marvel's Investors Day, when he just found out all the news by scrolling through Instagram.
Well, joke's on you. That's how I found out about all the DC fandom news.
That's not true. You watched some of it.
Okay, I did watch some of it.
Liar.
I will concede the fact that I do wish that the Marvel investor meeting was not just geared toward the investors and that they did actually make a fan event out of it, given that we didn't get any sort of Comic-Con type of event this year. It would have been nice if they had done that for the fans and not just the investors.
Well, luckily for you, they do that D23 convention for all things Disney. Disney has its own convention. They just don't do it every year.
Right, yeah. So that'll be next year. And they may have to do that virtually as well. But we'll see. Hopefully things with COVID have calmed down by then.
Before we announce the winners of this week's No Prize, we want to run down the list of everyone who sent us an answer. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to participate, including Brandon Estergaard, Nightwing Superman, Alex Fowler, Richard McGrew, Michael Haggerty, Matt Estes, Mike Jones, Kelvin John Della Merced, Mike Luther, and Miggy Madangian.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for interacting with us. But the winners of this week's No Prize go to Robert LeBlanc and Dustin Balcom. Robert said that he thought the Marvel investor meeting blew away DC Comics for one simple reason, in that DC for him stands for don't care.
Damn!
Which is my new favorite phrase. But he said, in all seriousness, he thinks Marvel announced a lot more and so many different media types, from Fantastic Four to I Am Groot. So he's really looking forward to the Marvel stuff.
I'm not sure what he's talking about media types, because when it came to the DC fandom, not only did we have movies and TV, but we also had video games and comic books.
True.
So a lot more media types with the DC fandom.
Don't care.
Damn it.
Yes.
Dustin Balcom also gets this week's No Prize for saying that although he was hyped for the Investors Day that Disney put out, DC's fandom was more of an experience between the fans and the creators, and not just TV and movie news, but also video games, like I mentioned, and fan events like the Jim Lee art critiquing in his panel. He said he was more hyped and sat by his computer waiting for the next event, whereas the Investors Day, he just waited to hear what came out through the news.
Yeah, that's totally valid. Like I said earlier, I do wish that Marvel made their investors meeting a little bit more fan-based, even though, its purpose was to inform the investors.
All in all, we got 14 answers, and 9 of them chose DC fandom as the better experience. So I gotta say, apparently DC is winning 2020.
And I gotta say, don't care! Yeah!
There's no defense.
I could use it all the time. Oh, it's the best. Thank you so much, Robert. But congrats again to Robert and Dustin for winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news.
Okay, guys, so a few days ago, the House of Pod organization in Denver, Colorado, hosted the second annual Colorado Podcast Awards, for which our podcast was nominated in several categories, including Best Colorado Podcast, Best Sound Design, Best Host/Team, and Best Fans. Now, based on our experience from last year's awards, I wasn't expecting Jonathan and I to get too much recognition from the greater Colorado podcasting community, but I was really expecting that we were going to win the Best Fans Award. Because it's obvious we have the best fans.
Right. If you remember from a few episodes ago, we kind of detailed our experience from last year, in which we were also nominated for multiple awards, but we didn't take home a single one. And in fact, the first time that they announced our name as one of the nominees, we heard some laughter. So it cut deep. It cut really deep.
Yeah. But it was really nice to get nominated again and to actually feel like we got some of that respect back from our podcasting peers, because Jonathan and I actually won the Best Colorado Podcast Award, the Best Host/Team Award, and Best Sound Design, which I totally was not expecting.
No.
We did not win Best Fans. That went to a show called Cut the Small Talk, which is an amazing show based around sort of a barbershop talk kind of feel. It was very well deserved for them. But I think my main takeaway was that while I felt kind of hurt from what happened last year, there are people in our field that legitimately care about the stuff that we do. And that was just really nice.
Yeah, we won 3 out of the 5 awards this year, which was completely unexpected. We wrote an acceptance speech beforehand, but only for the Best Fans Award. So when it came down to winning the actual Best Colorado Podcast, we had sort of thanked everyone by that point. We'd already thanked everyone we had wanted to, and I almost died from embarrassment because when it came down to winning that award, I didn't know what else to say. So I started reading from our acceptance speech for Best Fans. And just like Ron Burgundy, I specifically called out winning the Best Fans Award. Yeah, and of course, immediately Joseph started texting me saying, "You idiot, you blew it."
Yeah, and I had to interrupt him and I had to tell everybody, it's not the Best Fans Award. We know that we're currently accepting the Best Colorado Podcast Award. So
I think I was just like still in such shock that I didn't even realize what was coming out of my mouth. I was just on autopilot. I feel like such an idiot. But at the same time, I'm also like incredibly honored and thankful that we won these awards. And like, I can't mess that up. No matter how many mistakes I make, like I still have that Golden Microphone Award. Yeah. And that means a lot to me.
Yeah. And it's all thanks to you guys, all of you that voted for us, the fans to get us nominated, and the people in the industry who voted for us to actually win. It means a huge deal because when you start out making a podcast, and some of you may know this, it does feel occasionally like you're speaking into a void. And when you get any sort of feedback, whether it be through a review or a rating or even through these awards, it's nice to know that there is an audience out there and that you're not just, speaking into your microphone, that people are listening and they're appreciating it. So these awards that we won, guys, they go to you because that's who we make this show for. Yes, you listening right now, you are the reason that we make this show. And we're incredibly grateful that you listen. And we hope that you continue doing so for as long as we do make this show.
Yeah, it means a lot. Thank you, guys.
For those of you guys who want to hear Jonathan's hilarious mistake talking about the Best Fans Award during the Best Colorado Podcast acceptance speech, I will be including that in our next blooper reel that we are offering to our patrons.
No,
that's so good.
Of course you are. All right.
So good. All right. Moving on to the comic book movie news.
Yeah, last week, Wonder Woman 1984 had its virtual world premiere on the DC Fandom website, which was pretty cool. I didn't attend it live, but those who did get to make like an appearance on the screen for everyone to see. And it was so cool to see like everyone dressed up in their cosplay and stuff like that. It was pretty amazing. They got to ask questions of Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins and the rest of the cast. It was pretty cool. We also got, I can't quite say behind the scenes look at Hans Zimmer and his orchestra, but they played the entire like end credits song for us. And we got to see how he sort of transformed his original Wonder Woman theme that he made for Batman v Superman. You know, the one that goes...
Yeah, yeah.
We got to see how he tweaked that motif into something much more triumphant and brassy for this film, which was really cool.
Yeah.
They ended the event with a new... I don't want to call it a trailer, but it kind of is like the final trailer for the film. It's the opening scene for the movie.
Yeah, followed by like a quick little sizzle reel snippet of the movie.
Exactly.
What did you think of the opening scene?
I was actually kind of thrown by Wonder Woman's narration. I forgot that that's how they opened the first film.
Yeah.
I always expect Gal Gadot's voice to come off like really sweet, but it's actually kind of like rough and harsh.
Yeah, it comes across like she smokes too much, you know? I'm not sure if she even does smoke, but it's very raspy. She's gorgeous on the outside, but I am willing to bet that she does not have the best singing voice.
I think we all kind of learned that with the whole I could only imagine fiasco that went down.
That's right.
But it looks like the film is going to start off on Themyscira with Diana as a little girl, and she's running to partake in these Amazonian games, sort of like the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. And some of these events were pretty interesting.
Yeah, they were. I think quite a few of them will actually like foreshadow maybe some feats that Diana will be doing later on in the movie. Definitely the whip swinging, for sure.
Yeah, that looked very similar to her lasso of truth swinging along the lightning bolts shot that we've seen in a previous trailer.
Yeah.
We also got a look at the most hilarious version of Quidditch that I've ever seen. It was played on horseback, and there was one shot of one of the Amazonians like going up and like dunking the ball into the hoop. And it was hilarious because like it was so ungraceful the way she did it. It almost looked like a blooper. But in the next shot, when she's shown landing, she's landing like as gracefully as an Amazonian can. It's kind of hilarious. But other than that, I thought that these games were actually pretty cool.
I think the little girl actress that they got to play Diana is the same one that they had from the first movie. And her interaction with Antiope is just fantastic. I love it. You know, where like Diana is like super confident and Antiope is like, just make sure you learn a lesson from this. You know, greatness is not what you think. And that was an interesting line. It's a theme that I'm sure will be explored throughout the film.
Yeah, possibly. I do like how they didn't discourage her.
Once the games kick off, you know, we see little Diana running, and like almost all of the promotional material for this film, they cut between her running as a little girl and her as an adult running through the streets of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, from there we don't get much new material, except for the last shot when Kristen Wiig's character compliments Diana Prince on her cheetah print shoes.
Yeah, that was kind of like a throwaway joke.
Yeah, what's up with DC doing like all of these throwaway jokes at the end of their trailers? Kind of like how you were talking about with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I was wondering the same thing. I was like, what the heck is this, a Marvel trailer? We also did get new footage of Wonder Woman like using her lasso to swat away a bullet, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty interesting. They're always using the lasso in new and interesting ways in these films, in ways that I just never imagined from the comics. Kind of makes you wonder how you could reuse it in Thor versus Wonder Woman rematch or something, yeah?
Yeah, totally.
I wonder if she would be able to like swing off of Thor's lightning bolts. That'd be weird.
Or like off of his hammer as it's like going through the air. That's really the whole trailer. Again, this film is coming out on HBO Max and in theaters on Christmas Day. I will be seeing it on HBO Max from home, but I'm really curious to hear what you guys will be doing. And that brings us to our question of the week. Will you be watching Wonder Woman 1984 in theaters or at home on HBO Max this weekend? And why? Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we will post to social media. Be sure to answer before December 27th, because that's when we record our next episode. In other DC news, Quintessa Swindell has been cast as Cyclone in the Black Adam film. Now, Cyclone was teased during the DC fandom event when The Rock had his panel to talk about the film, and the concept art they released for her was done by Boss Logic. It's been very different from what the casting has been, and probably more based on the comics than anything.
Yeah, it's turning out to be quite the diverse cast that they have going here. Of course, we know that Aldous Hodge is going to be Hawkman, Noah Centineo is going to be Atom Smasher, and now Quintessa Swindell is going to be Cyclone, not only a person of color, but also non-binary, and goes by they and them pronouns.
I don't actually think Cyclone will be non-binary in the film. The character does have a heteronormative romantic relationship with Atom Smasher in the comics, and, you know, he's in the film, so I would be surprised if they didn't play up on that angle. But we'll see. I was under the impression that they were going to save someone who's, you know, transgender or non-binary for Dr. Fate. Because if you remember from our Dr. Fate versus Dr. Strange episode, the true form of Dr. Fate has both a female and male aspect to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if they kind of went with like a Xerxes from 300 route with Dr. Fate, which is kind of very androgynous, you know? And it is still possible that they might do that.
Yeah, Dr. Fate's costume is so androgynous to begin with, you know, with the helmet and everything.
Yeah. But I'm still really hoping that the Dr. Fate role goes to Oded Fehr or to Mina Masad, who was the actor who played Aladdin. I think both of those guys would be great in that role.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
We should be getting that Dr. Fate casting like any day now, I would think.
Yeah, and I'm still hoping that they give us a release date pretty soon here as well. It was supposed to come out next Christmas, but now we don't know when it's going to come out. Since they start filming soon, I imagine it's sooner than most other DC projects.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know when we know. In our last bit of news, we learned this past week that Disney Plus is going to have yet another Marvel show on its platform that wasn't announced during the investor meeting, but it's going to be called Marvel Studios Legends, which they say celebrates and codifies all the MCU continuity that has come before for certain characters. It's basically a recap show, and will let people know who haven't necessarily seen the movies what these characters are about, what they've gone through, and kind of give a background on their history and abilities.
It sounds very similar to what they were proposing the Nick Fury Secret Files show would be. And that never came out.
Yeah, earlier this year, it was reported by Disney themselves that they were going to release this Nick Fury Secret Files show, and then it just never came out. It just never happened.
It's like they just forgot about it.
Yeah, and it's entirely possible that they kind of reworked it to be this Marvel Studios Legends show. Now, it's not something that we'll be reviewing on this podcast because it is a recap series after all, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I think it's a brilliant move on behalf of Marvel to get audiences caught up who may not necessarily have seen all of the Marvel Studios films and television shows.
Especially since, like, the entire world just took, like, a 1-year break from the MCU. It'll be nice to have these refreshers.
Yeah, just to jump back in.
The rumor right now is that they're releasing an episode for Vision and for Scarlet Witch prior to WandaVision coming out.
Right, yeah, I heard that too. I'm really interested in seeing what these episodes entail. The show will be released a few weeks before WandaVision, so that should give audiences plenty of time to get caught up. I'm just so happy that we're going to get new MCU stuff soon, even if it is repackaged.
Yeah, you Marvel fans will take anything right now.
I mean, wouldn't you?
That's fair.
But I think that does it for all the news for this episode, so let's go ahead and get into our main event, where we find out who would win in a fight between the Wonder Woman villain Cheetah and the Spider-Man and Hulk villain Rhino. Okay, Cheetah versus Rhino. Again, this Cheetah duel is in lead up to the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984 film, so I'm really looking forward to learning about who she is, what she can do, and especially how bad she's going to lose to Rhino. Now, a lot of people have come to us suggesting that Cheetah should go up against Tigra from Marvel, because she's a similar character in that she's essentially a jungle cat furry character.
Yeah, I think most people who make that suggestion don't actually know too much about Cheetah. They're not considering the fact that she goes toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman, so she's incredibly strong, incredibly fast, and way too much of a match for a character like Tigra.
Yeah, eventually we will get Tigra in a duel match, but I'm not sure who we're going to put her up against just yet. But she's quite a prominent Avengers member in their history, so eventually, yeah, look forward to that.
We always knew that we were going to do a Cheetah duel episode to tie into the Wonder Woman movie. But of course, that got pushed back so many times, we never really came up with a match for Cheetah until recently, discussing it with our executive producers. And I think it was actually your idea to pit her against Rhino.
Yeah, it kind of came to me when I was thinking of like African animal-based supervillains. I think it'll be a great matchup, but I'm really excited to see who will win. Now, if you've never listened to one of our duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. Now, what's a Monte Carlo simulation? Well, it's a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
In our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based off of the official Marvel Power Grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC character stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1,000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, given that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character has ever won 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's always a way for Batman to defeat Superman, and we feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, Joseph and I are both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, and instead of debating these matches forever, we just let the math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations we run would play out beat for beat. And I think, Jonathan, it's your turn to go first with the DC character's bio, so let's hear all about Cheetah.
Now, there have been 4 separate characters to hold the mantle of Cheetah in DC Comics, but each of them have been fierce antagonists of Wonder Woman, who you can learn more about in our Wonder Woman vs. Thor episode. The first Cheetah, a woman named Priscilla Rich, was a creation of Dr. William Moulton Marston in 1943. Dr. Marston, who was also the creator of Wonder Woman, was a psychologist who wanted his feminist hero to go up against allegories of emotional misalignment. Priscilla Rich was an aristocratic debutante and charity organizer who was meant to represent envy, as despite Priscilla's successes and high status in society, she was jealous and resentful of Wonder Woman. Priscilla set up a trap for Wonder Woman intending to kill her, but was herself accidentally caught in it and ultimately rescued by Wonder Woman. Unable to cope with the circumstances, Priscilla was driven insane and developed a split personality, that of a treacherous and relentless huntress intent on destroying Wonder Woman. After fashioning a suit from a cheetah skin rug, she took up the name Cheetah, and would go on to frame Wonder Woman for misdeeds and sell US military secrets to the Japanese during World War II. She even eventually made her way to Themyscira, the hidden home of the Amazons, where she stole Queen Hippolyta's golden girdle of Gaia, giving her the strength and speed to go toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman managed to remove Cheetah's girdle, however, restoring Priscilla's personality, who was allowed to live on Themyscira until her mind was healed. Unfortunately, when Priscilla left Themyscira, she returned to crime for a short while before retiring. By the 1980s, Priscilla was an elderly woman, occasionally cared for by her niece, Deborah Domain, an environmental activist and friend of Wonder Woman. The Cobra Cult attempted to recruit Cheetah to their organization, but after realizing her alter ego was the elderly Priscilla Rich, they instead kidnapped Deborah and tortured and brainwashed her into becoming the new Cheetah. After the Crisis on Infinite Earths event merged all realities into one, Deborah's existence as the Cheetah was erased from continuity, and Priscilla Rich was retconned to be the villain of Wonder Woman's mom, Hippolyta, when she fought alongside the Allies in World War II, making Wonder Woman's first canonical encounter with the villain Cheetah when the mantle was assumed by a British heiress and archaeologist named Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva. Barbara set up an expedition to Africa to find a lost matriarchal tribe rumored to be protected by a female guardian imbued with the powers of a cheetah. Their witch doctor guide, however, led Barbara's expedition team into a trap, where they were captured in order to serve as human sacrifices to the lost tribe's bloodthirsty patron deity, Erzkataga. Barbara managed to escape and hide with one other colleague, and together, they followed their captured team into the lost tribe's hidden city. As the tribe began the ritual to restore their cheetah guardian, a rival tribe ambushed them and killed all of their tribe, save for the ritual's high priest named Chuma, who was rescued by Barbara. The two hid inside of a cave, where Chuma explained that he could save Barbara, granting her immortality and power by performing the ritual of Erzkatarga and turning her into the cheetah guardian / wife of the deity. After murdering her colleague to act as the human sacrifice, Barbara drank a potion made from human blood and the Erzkatarga plant, turning her skin orange and spotted as she transformed into a cheetah / human hybrid. She emerged from the cave and slaughtered all of the Lost City invaders. Unfortunately for Barbara, the ritual was supposed to be performed on a virgin, so what should have been a blessing ended up being a curse. She found herself experiencing uncontrollable bloodlust as a cheetah and pain and fatigue when human. Chuma helped her return to her camp, and she brought him back with her to England, where she learned she could only reattain her cheetah form when she drank or sipped another's blood, along with the potion.
Weird.
When Wonder Woman emerged on the scene, the archaeologist side of Barbara became obsessed with the mythic artifacts Wonder Woman carried with her. Initially, Barbara tried befriending Wonder Woman as an archaeologist to steal her artifacts, but when she accidentally confessed her true intentions to Wonder Woman while holding the lasso of truth, Barbara was forced to steal the lasso later as the cheetah. Obsessed with learning more about the lasso, Barbara did extensive research on Amazonian history and eventually discovered the hidden city-state of Bana Migdal in Egypt, home to a rogue sect of Amazons. Wonder Woman followed her there, but was unable to stop Cheetah from killing the queen of Bana Migdal. Chuma was killed by the Amazons, and Wonder Woman managed to defeat Cheetah, imprisoning her afterward. Barbara eventually escaped her prison and, in the years that followed, served as both a foe and friend to Wonder Woman, both saving each other's lives on occasion. Eventually, an Argentinian businessman named Sebastian Ballesteros, who was the lover of the Wonder Woman villain Circe, managed to convince the god Targa that Barbara was not worthy of wielding the power of the Cheetah. Targa removed his power from Barbara and gave it to Sebastian instead, making him the first and only male Cheetah. After several years, however, Barbara managed to track down Sebastian and killed him, offering him as a sacrifice to Targa, who bestowed Barbara once more with the powers of the Cheetah. Eventually, the Cheetah rescued from prison the Flash villain known as Zoom, who you can learn more about in our Flash vs. Speedball episode. And in return, Zoom helped her increase her speed. Since her powers are magic-based, Zoom reasoned that any barriers holding her back would be psychological. So Barbara, in order to be the one true Cheetah, murdered Priscilla Rich, who had condemned Barbara for being the Cheetah in her autobiography. Now much faster than before, Barbara joined Zoom in the secret society of supervillains, and the two became lovers. Barbara also received aid from the Wonder Woman villain Circe, who gave her a potion that allowed her to transform between her forms at will, without feeling pain and maintaining her speed and strength as a human. Circe tricked Barbara, however, as once she took the potion, Barbara was under Circe's control. Barbara managed to betray Circe, however, and helped Wonder Woman defeat her. After the Flashpoint and Rebirth events reset DC's continuity, Barbara was one of the first to meet Wonder Woman when she came to man's world. As an archaeologist, Barbara was the world's foremost expert on Amazonian culture, formerly believed to be a myth, and she was able to communicate with Wonder Woman when no one else could. Barbara helped Wonder Woman get acclimated to her new surroundings and learn the ways of man's world. Wonder Woman villain Veronica Cale manipulated Barbara into taking an expedition into the deep African jungle to investigate the lost tribe of Targa, at which point events played out similarly to prior Flashpoint continuity. But now, as Wonder Woman's best friend, Barbara blamed Wonder Woman for not coming to her rescue and preventing her transformation into a savage hybrid beast and bride of a bloodthirsty god. When Wonder Woman was unable to locate Themyscira, she tracked down Barbara in the African jungle and pleaded for her help in locating her former home. Barbara agreed to help her as long as Wonder Woman agreed to kill Targa. Wonder Woman agreed and managed to kill the bloodthirsty god, curing Barbara of the Cheetah curse, and Barbara helped Wonder Woman locate Themyscira once more. Veronica Cale, however, later manipulated Barbara again into becoming a new version of the Cheetah in order to save the lives of Wonder Woman's friends, Steve Trevor and Etta Candy. Veronica Cale is sort of like a Lex Luthor type character. She's a scientist who owns a business and has a ton of resources. She was able to recreate the Cheetah potion without the tie to the deity. Now, powers-wise, Cheetah can move nearly as fast as the Flash, and is capable of catching speedsters like him and Superman off guard. She's also as strong as Wonder Woman, and nearly as durable. She has sharp claws and fangs, and has enhanced senses. That's Cheetah.
How fast is nearly as fast as the Flash? Is that like Quicksilver speed? Like Sonic speeds?
It's ill-defined. I would definitely say it's at a minimum supersonic.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty fast. That's kind of what Wonder Woman is. She's like supersonic, right?
Yeah, but Cheetah is faster than Wonder Woman.
Oh. Rhino's pretty fast.
Oh yeah? Is he supersonic?
No, not nearly. He's about as fast as the Hulk. He has to accelerate to that speed too. But what he lacks in speed, he makes up for in other areas. Let me tell you all about him. Now, Rhino's real name is Alexei Sitsevich, who was a poor immigrant from Russia who moved to New York City as a young man, hoping to earn money to send back to his family. With little education and no real skills, Alexei struggled in trying to find work and make a living. Though his large physical build and impressive strength did make him a desirable recruit for criminal organizations who hired him as an enforcer for their illegal activities. One day, Alexei was contacted by former KGB scientists who presented him with an offer to earn some easy money by volunteering for some dangerous experiments involving gamma radiation, the same radiation that transformed Bruce Banner into the Hulk, which you can learn more about in our Doomsday vs. Hulk Duel episode. Dim-witted and eager for cash to support his family, Alexei agreed to participate in the experiments, not fully comprehending what the process entailed. Over the course of several months, the former Soviet scientists subjected him to intensive radioactive treatments that vastly increased his strength and speed. They also performed a chemical procedure that bonded a highly durable polymer to his skin that rendered him virtually impervious to physical harm. The armor was modeled after a rhinoceros's hide, and they dubbed him the Rhino, the ultimate super assassin specializing in armored assault. Shocked at what he had become, permanently confined to his Rhino suit, Alexei destroyed the scientist's laboratory and escaped the facility. Free from his benefactor's authority, he used his new abilities to take on his own jobs. His first gig was to kidnap astronaut John Jameson, the son of Daily Bugle newspaper's editor-in-chief, J. Jonah Jameson. Though he was successful in snatching up Jameson, Spider-Man outsmarted and defeated Alexei. He was sent to prison under heavy sedation, though he smashed out of his cell a few weeks later to try and complete his kidnapping mission. In his second encounter, Spider-Man reworked his webbing formula with help from Dr. Kurt Connors so that it was imbued with a highly concentrated acid that could dissolve Alexei's Rhino armor. In his weaker state, Alexei was again defeated and imprisoned. Alexei was soon busted out of jail by the former Soviet scientists who presented him with a new acid-proof suit of Rhino armor. He was sent to capture gamma radiation scientist Bruce Banner. However, during Alexei's ambush, Bruce turned into the Hulk, and the two powerhouses duked it out. The Hulk, who gets stronger as his rage increases, overpowered Alexei and beat him nearly into a coma. His unconscious body was then overtaken by the telepathic Hulk villain known as the Leader, who mentally controlled Alexei into attacking the Hulk again in order to force him aboard a rocket ship that blasted into outer space. The ship eventually crash-landed back on Earth, and Hulk escaped the wreckage, but Alexei was buried beneath it for some time. He later teamed up with the Abomination against the Hulk, joined a supervillain team called the Emissaries of Evil and fought against the Defenders, and teamed up with Green Goblin against Spider-Man. The latter collaboration being an attempt to raise money to bring his family from Russia to the United States. Alexei's family, however, was too disgusted to join him after learning about his unlawful means of earning money. Now, desperate to rid himself of the Rhino mantle, Alexei tried to raise the funds to get his armored suit removed. He joined the Sinister Syndicate, which is an expanded version of the Sinister Six, and later worked for the Kingpin, who had the resources to help him. The Kingpin found Alexei too valuable an ally, though, and conspired to make sure the Rhino armor was never removed. Learning this, Alexei kidnapped the daughter of one of the scientists involved in the removal procedure and forced them to finally perform the operation. Free of the Rhino, Alexei retired to Mexico, but he was pulled back into organized crime when the Kingpin reminded him that he would be a marked man wherever he went. Reluctantly, Alexei contracted the Iron Man villain Justin Hammer to build him a new, removable version of the Rhino armor. His heart wasn't in the criminal game, however, and he tried to romantically pursue a woman named Stella. She coldly told him that he was too stupid to be taken seriously, emotionally wounding Alexei. He volunteered for an experimental brain operation in order to increase his intelligence.
What?
And with his new vast intellect, Alexei easily battered Spider-Man after deducing his secret identity as Peter Parker. He also ran away with Stella, wrote a novel, and amassed a great deal of wealth. However, Alexei ended up so smart that he soon found life meaningless. He dumped Stella for being too dim-witted and eventually developed a way to reverse his intelligence-granting procedure.
Oh my gosh.
He spent his entire fortune to make himself, quote, a little bit stupider than before. Stupid, but happy spending his days crashing through walls. Alexei was later hired by the villain Claw to assist in his invasion of Wakanda, home of the Black Panther. Alexei impressively managed to get through several of Wakanda's defense perimeters, but he was stopped through knockout gases deployed by Wakandan air support. Alexei became Black Panther's prisoner for a while, who refused to extradite him for working with Claw. Later, Alexei was captured by Kraven the Hunter, who was amassing a zoo collection of sorts of animal-themed heroes and villains. He was rescued by the Punisher, who actually let Alexei live since he saved the Punisher's life and aided him in a case. Finding comfort in working with the good guys, Alexei decided to finally give up his life of crime entirely and surrendered to the police, pleading guilty to all charges. He was sentenced to 25 years in Rikers Island prison and rejected all attempts by others to recruit him back into the criminal lifestyle, even denying an opportunity to escape. For this, Alexei was granted early parole, and he enjoyed a quiet life living in a small apartment in Yonkers, falling in love and marrying a waitress. A new and improved Rhino villain came after Alexei, believing that he had to destroy the old Rhino to earn the mantle. Spider-Man managed to stop the new Rhino, and Alexei swore to his old foe that he wouldn't get involved, and he went into hiding with his new wife. Before they got to the safe house, however, the new Rhino attacked again and killed Alexei's wife. Grief-stricken, Alexei donned his old Rhino armor and broke his promise to Spider-Man by destroying the new Rhino in one hit and killing the man inside the armor. Alexei retreated to Mexico in mourning and was approached by the Spider-Man villain known as the Jackal, who was known for his advanced cloning technology. You can learn more about the Clone Saga in our Blue Beetle vs. Spider-Man Duel episode. Jackal asked Alexei to come work for him in exchange for cloning his deceased wife. Alexei agreed and worked as a security guard at Jackal's labs, enjoying time spent with his resurrected love. Dr. Octopus, though, eventually caused all of the clones at the lab to break down at the cellular level and dissolve, and Alexei went on a rampage. Spider-Man managed to calm him down, though, telling him to honor her death by being the man she would have wanted him to be, keeping his head down and always moving forward. And that's his history. Powers-wise, Rhino's abilities are as uncomplicated as the man himself. He was made incredibly strong through his gamma radiation enhancements and is able to lift 100 tons.
Oh, shit.
In addition to his enhanced durability, he has a suit of armor made from a polymer that renders him impervious to any physical damage. Like the Hulk, he's impressively fast for his size, able to accelerate to running speeds approaching 100 miles per hour if given enough distance, though it is difficult for him to pivot and change direction once he gets going. His armor is equipped with 2 razor-sharp horns atop his head, which can puncture through steel. And that's the Rhino.
How fast did you say he was?
He can accelerate to speeds of about 100 miles per hour.
So he could bash himself through steel. What are his horns made of?
I believe it's a compound similar to what his armor is made out of.
His armor baffles me. Like, I don't get why the scientists would make it look so much like a rhino, even like down to like the rhino ears.
They're trying to send a message. Kind of like how the rhino was the result of like countless centuries of evolution toward like the ultimate armored animal. It's a stretch.
Yeah, totally.
But that does it for their histories and abilities. Now let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not this speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this could play out.
We don't set any rules for this match other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say that they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Yeah, plus certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. The characters meet on the battlefield. Who goes first? Don't answer that. I already know you're going to say like, oh, the faster person goes first. Cheetah's going to go first. But I think it's actually the dumber person is going to go first. And Rhino, he's just going to charge head first into this thing, literally by just dashing toward Cheetah. And though he looks big and cumbersome, he actually moves really fast. He's going to dash over at Cheetah faster than she even thought would be possible for this big lunk of a dude.
Okay, but not faster than she could react, like easily, too.
Okay.
So as he gets close, she just leaps over his attack, landing behind him, and then she swiftly slashes at his like Achilles tendons with her razor-sharp claws.
Oh, really? Okay. Her claws that do pretty much nothing against his armored hide? Like, he wouldn't even feel that.
Excuse me, these claws are capable of slashing at Wonder Woman and breaking her skin, and Superman.
Well, first of all, Wonder Woman doesn't wear thick armor like that. And second of all, Superman is vulnerable to magic anyway. And her powers are magic-based, right?
That's a good point.
So I'm going to say that they might leave like the teensiest like scratch lines on his armor, but she's not like going to be eviscerating his tendons like she wants to. To Rhino, they're like less than cat scratches, and he just keeps running because he's already going. And once he starts going, it's just hard for him to stop.
Okay, so Cheetah's gonna pounce onto Rhino's back as he keeps charging forward, and she's just gonna, like, bite him in the shoulder. And if you think cat scratches won't do anything, a bite force is much stronger than a scratch force.
Yeah, Rhino doesn't even feel it against
What?
his armor. He just keeps running. His armor is too durable for scratches and bites. I have no idea what Cheetah's going to be able to do to him, but, good luck.
How does he not feel like a really forceful bite into his shoulder?
It's more like a small pinch.
Jeez. Okay, so then while Cheetah is still on his back, she's gonna reach her claws in front of his face and just raking her claws across his skin, just leaving deep claw marks and just blinding both of his eyes.
Oh, you discovered his one weakness, his unarmored face. Yeah, that's gonna hurt him for sure. He is fairly durable, given that he still has undergone the gamma radiation treatments in addition to his armor. But something sharp like that is definitely gonna hurt him. He doesn't get both of his eyes scratched out, but we'll say, maybe one.
Okay.
Rhino definitely felt that this time. So he starts slowing down his running, and he leaps up into the air, swinging his front legs out and landing on his back in an attempt to crush Cheetah underneath his massive weight.
Okay, Cheetah gets smashed under his weight, but just how, Rhino is faster than he looks, Cheetah is more durable than she looks. Again, she's able to take blows from Wonder Woman and other members of the Justice League. Mm-hmm. She's durable and strong. So she just lifts Rhino off of her and just stands up, holding him into the air from his back. So he's just flailing his arms and legs in the air, not sure what to do. He's like, what the hell is happening? Just kicking and squirming. And Cheetah's just gonna hurl Rhino through the air away from her, just sending him crashing really hard into the ground.
I bet you Rhino is just so surprised by what just happened. And he gets really angry by this. He gets enraged, and he gets up and he snorts and he stomps his feet and he charges again. He's kind of a one-trick pony. When it comes to his attacks. He never really learns his lessons. So he's going to charge at her again at an accelerated speed, just slamming into her with his sharp rhino horns.
He doesn't learn his lesson because he already did this. Cheetah's just way too fast for this to work. So as he approaches, Cheetah will just leap into the air and then wrap her legs around Rhino's head like a luchador. Okay?
Oh, like Black Widow, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Black Widow. So she's just gonna twist his head in midair, just using his momentum to force his horned head to charge directly into the ground, just getting him stuck upside down. Right into the ground.
So his horn is stuck into the ground. He's upside down. He's probably kicking and flailing again.
Exactly. And as he's doing that, Cheetah's just doing this flurry of hyper-fast claw slashes, and she begins to cut down Rhino's armor, just bit by bit. And before long, she exposes his gut,
Just probably this big beer belly just poking out of his armor.
Better the gut than anything else.
What do you mean by that?
Could have been his balls.
Okay. I guess if she was able to leave small scratch marks in his armor earlier, I'm guessing that over time, with enough speed, if she just keeps working at it, she might actually be able to chip some of it away. So yeah, I'll allow that. His belly is now exposed and vulnerable, but before Cheetah can take advantage of that vulnerability, Rhino gets himself unstuck by punching the ground hard with both fists and launching him out of the ground and up into the air. And the impact of the punch creates this tremor shockwave that shakes the ground and causes Cheetah to lose her footing and fall on her ass. And then Rhino lands on the ground. Actually, he lands on one of Cheetah's legs with his giant feet, just shattering her femur and her kneecap.
The heck? Dang! I don't know if it would shatter. It would probably break.
Definitely
Again,
breaks.
She's durable, but that's pretty hardcore. That was a good move.
And Cheetah yells out in pain as she's on the ground, and with her leg broken, Rhino looks down and just plows into her head first, just impaling her torso with his razor-sharp horns. End of match.
Okay, but you're forgetting one thing. Cheetah, she doesn't have a traditional runner's form. She could sprint with all four limbs. She doesn't run like the Flash. So, like most four-legged animals, she could adapt to using 3 legs to maneuver.
So you're saying she can move on 3 limbs?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And she's going to use those 3 working limbs to just slash at Rhino's exposed areas, just in this blur of motion, just like eviscerating his guts and face and ripping out his spleen with her teeth. It's just a bloodbath.
That's really violent. I guess no more violent than, getting impaled with a set of horns.
Oh, it's more violent. It's much more violent. There's blood everywhere.
Oh, God.
That's how this match ends.
Okay, so either one of them gets eviscerated or one of them gets gored. Let's go ahead and run the simulations on these guys' statistics, and we'll find out which scenario actually happens. We'll be right back. All right, so both of these guys are kind of one-trick ponies, huh?
For sure. Like, that was probably a pretty short matchup, but what else can you do with them?
Especially Rhino. Now, putting in the stats, I was actually a little bit disappointed because he's pretty fast and he's strong and durable. But really, what else does Rhino have? He's not smart. He's not evasive. He doesn't have any range. He doesn't really have much fighting skill. Statistically, he's not as impressive as you would think of him by looking at him, I guess. I think he's quite the intimidating figure visually, if not, mathematically.
Well, he did come out on top when it came to strength and damage level. But yeah, Cheetah is much smarter than him. She's quite a bit faster than him. She's more evasive than him. And with her enhanced senses, she does have a minor advantage in perception. So it's hard for him to hurt her. That said, it goes both ways, because Rhino is also more durable than Cheetah.
Yeah, so it's like he can't touch her, but she can't hurt him.
Or at least it would be really hard for them to do either.
Yeah. All that being said, I do think Cheetah has a slight statistical advantage, but I don't know by how much. Now, in our social media polls that we posted to Facebook and Instagram, 61% of you who participated thought that the Rhino would come out on top. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think maybe a lot of people just don't know a whole lot about Cheetah and aren't quite sure exactly how crazy strong and fast she is. So if I had to guess who's going to win this fight, I would actually flip that and say I think that Cheetah's going to win by about 60%. That's my guess.
This is like one of the only times I've ever seen you concede to the fact that you might lose after inputting the stats.
Well, I might be surprised. And I'm no dummy, I'm no Rhino.
Well, the winner of this matchup between Cheetah and Rhino is Cheetah. You're right, it's Cheetah. But
what a big fat cheetah.
Now, the percentage that she won by is actually quite a bit more than you were thinking. She won 729 out of the 1,000 matches, leaving Rhino with a win percentage of only 27.1.
Well, that's not very close at all.
No, this is actually one of the more lopsided matches that we've ever done, which is always a surprise. It's always really interesting. And it kind of means that we didn't do the best job of choosing a matchup.
Yeah, maybe. Like, in theory, this seems like it would be closer than it actually was because they kind of have similar power sets, like we said, strength, speed, and sharp weaponry. But when it's broken down the way that we do it, yeah, the disparity was just too great in too many of the stat categories. So like how most of these matches go whenever DC wins, they're just a bunch of overpowered cheaters, and I'm not going to be too hurt by it,
It's not really surprising when you think about it, though, considering there's no way that Spider-Man would ever win in a fight against Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but Rhino's also a Hulk villain.
That's true. Never mind. Still a good match, though. I'm actually always happy to be surprised by results.
That's true.
It's not always fun when it's really close within 5 percentage points. Sometimes I love seeing results like this, especially when DC comes out on top. I think it's just better to get like a definitive winner rather than a coin toss.
Oh, when you say when DC comes out on top, do you mean Don't Care comes out on top? Oh!
No, I don't. I mean like Detective Comics.
That's dumb. All right, guys, that does it for this duel. Let us know what you thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And also don't forget to visit podchaser.com to leave us a rating. For every rating we get from now until the end of 2020, we will be donating $1 to the Pop Culture Classroom nonprofit organization.
Yeah, and at the end of 2020, we'll go ahead and present those who rated us with a digital art download of the Keelix and Herbie drawings drawn by Matt Turner from our last episode. Again, don't be one of the people that sits on this. Please at least make sure that we can match this year's donation from last year's. Right now we have 24 ratings on podchaser.com. We're hoping to get to at least 100. We want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. We know that many of us are not going to be able to spend it with our extended families, but we hope that in whatever way you celebrate, you do it safely and still find joy and cheer.
But that does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson, Jace Crump, John Starosky, John Speas, Isaiah Bethune, Zachary Hepburn, and John Bechinina for helping make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week, during which, again, we will be reviewing, finally, Wonder Woman 1984. So look forward to that. Up, and away.
True believers.